The late 13th century in Anatolia was a tapestry of fragmented empires and ambitious warlords. The once mighty Byzantine Empire, weakened by internal strife and external pressures, clung to its remaining territories, while a multitude of Turkish beyliks, small principalities, vied for dominance. Among these ambitious leaders was Ottoman, a man destined to carve his own empire from the remnants of Byzantium. He possessed a rare blend of charisma, strategic acumen, and unwavering determination, qualities that would soon set him apart from his rivals. His early successes were not born of brute force alone. Ottoman understood the importance of alliances, forging bonds with neighboring Turkish tribes and exploiting the divisions within the Byzantine ranks. The skirmishes against the Byzantine Empire began as raids, opportunistic strikes against isolated fortresses and villages. But with each victory, Ottoman's reputation grew, attracting more warriors to his banner. Ottoman established his base of operations in Surgut, a small town in northwestern Anatolia. From this humble beginning, he meticulously planned his campaigns, carefully selecting his targets and consolidating his gains. Surgut quickly transformed from a frontier outpost into a vibrant center of commerce and culture. People from all walks of life, Turks, Greeks, and others, flocked to the burgeoning principality, seeking opportunity and stability. Ottoman inspired his followers with a vision of a just and prosperous society, one built on the principles of Islamic faith and the traditions of the Turkish people. His message resonated deeply, fueling their ambition and solidifying their loyalty. As Ottoman's power grew, he began to target strategically important Byzantine fortresses. These sieges tested the mettle of his army, forcing them to adapt and innovate in their military tactics. Victory came at a cost. The battlefield was a grim reminder of the human toll of war. Yet, the spoils of war, land, resources, and captives fueled further expansion. Ottoman's approach to conquered territories was often pragmatic. He sought to win the loyalty of the local population by offering protection and fair treatment, often respecting their customs and religious beliefs. By the time of his death, Ottoman had laid the foundation for a powerful principality. His conquests, though modest in scale, had established a foothold in Anatolia, setting the stage for his successors to build a mighty empire. Ottoman's legacy would live on through his son, Orhan, a capable and ambitious leader who would inherit his father's vision and carry the Ottoman banner to new heights. The capture of Bursa was only the beginning. Ottoman's early military was a reflection of his humble origins. A band of Ghazis, driven by faith and the promise of plunder, rather than a disciplined army. Their strength lay in mobility and swift raids. Light cavalry, skilled horsemen armed with bows and swords, were the backbone of Ottoman's forces. Siege warfare was rudimentary but effective. Lacking sophisticated siege engines, they relied on scaling walls, undermining fortifications, and starving out their enemies. Orhan, recognizing the need for a more organized fighting force, began to formalize the military structure. The economic base of the Ottoman military expanded as local blacksmiths and artisans were incentivized to produce arms and armor for the growing army. The seeds of the Devshirme system, though not yet fully formed, began to take root. Conquered populations provided a pool of potential recruits. Training became more rigorous, instilling discipline and cohesion within the ranks. Byzantine infighting provided opportunities. Cantacuzeno's plea for Ottoman assistance highlighted the growing military strength of the Ottomans. Ottoman military tactics were now being employed within the Byzantine civil war itself, showcasing their adaptability and effectiveness. Victories fueled further recruitment and expansion. The spoils of war incentivized more Ghazis to join the Ottoman banner. Osman watched, nearing the end of his days, as the army he founded became a force to be reckoned with, his vision taking form. The Ottoman military, now a formidable force, was poised to carry its banner into Europe, changing the course of history forever. The crossing marked a significant shift. The year is 1326. After decades of relentless campaigning and expansion, Osman I, the founder of the Ottoman dynasty, breathed his last. His death marked the end of an era of audacious raiding and the beginning of a more structured approach to governance. Orhan I, Osman's son, inherited not only his father's territories, but also a legacy of relentless expansion and a need to consolidate the gains made. He faced the daunting task of transforming a tribal warband into a functioning state. Orhan's first priority was to establish a more formal administration. Bursa, captured shortly before Osman's death, became the new capital. Land surveys were conducted, and a system of taxation was implemented to provide a stable revenue stream for the nascent state. To foster economic growth, Orhan invested in infrastructure. Caravanserais, fortified roadside inns, were built along major trade routes to encourage commerce and provide safe havens for merchants. Recognizing the importance of a standing army, Orhan began to formalize the Ottoman military. While Ghazi warriors still played a role, a more professional force was needed to secure the growing territories. Military training became more structured, and soldiers were paid regular salaries, a stark contrast to the earlier reliance on plunder and individual initiative. To ensure justice and stability, Orhan established a system of Islamic law, with qadis or judges, appointed to settle disputes and administer justice according to Sharia. Orhan pursued a policy of pragmatic coexistence with the local Christian populations. While non-Muslims were subject to certain restrictions and taxes, they were generally allowed to practice their religion and maintain their communities. The Byzantine Empire, weakened by internal strife, continued to be a major factor in Ottoman calculations. John VI Cantacuzenios, embroiled in a civil war, sought Orhan's assistance to secure his throne. Orhan, ever the pragmatist, saw an opportunity in Cantacuzenios' desperation. He agreed to provide military support in exchange for a strategic foothold in Europe. In 1354, Ottoman forces crossed the Dardanelles and established a permanent presence on the Gallipoli Peninsula, marking a crucial turning point in Ottoman history. This bridgehead would serve as a springboard for further expansion into the Balkans. By the time of his death in 1362, Orhan had transformed the Ottoman Principality into a formidable state. His policies of consolidation, administrative reform, and strategic alliances laid the foundation for the empire's future expansion and dominance in the region. The crossing to Gallipoli was a point of no return. The Ottomans were now a European power. Constantinople, 1341. The Byzantine Empire, once the jewel of the world, was now a fractured realm, consumed by internal strife. The death of Emperor Andronikos III had plunged the empire into a bloody civil war. On one side stood John V. Palaiologos, the young heir, and on the other John VI Cantacuzenios, a powerful nobleman and former regent, each vying for control of the throne. Cantacuzenios, a shrewd and ambitious man, found himself increasingly isolated. His rivals, led by the Empress Anne of Savoy, controlled Constantinople and held the young emperor. Battle after battle left both sides weakened. He needed allies, and he was willing to look beyond the traditional borders of Christendom. Messengers arrived in Bursa, the bustling Ottoman capital. They carried a desperate plea from John Cantacuzenios to Orhan I, the son of Osman. The Byzantines, desperate for help, offered land, wealth, and a marriage alliance in exchange for Ottoman military support. Orhan saw an opportunity. The Byzantine Civil War was a golden chance to expand Ottoman influence and gain a foothold in Europe. His advisors cautioned against interfering in the affairs of the infidels, but Orhan's ambition outweighed their concerns. Hala Sultan, Orhan's most trusted advisor and wife, watched the unfolding events with a mix of intrigue and unease. She understood the risks involved in such an alliance, but also recognized the potential rewards. An agreement was struck. Orhan pledged his support to Cantacuzenios, and in return he would receive a Byzantine princess as a bride for himself, and a strategic foothold on the Gallipoli Peninsula. Ottoman troops crossed the Dardanelles, marking their first major incursion into Europe. Cantacuzenios welcomed the Ottoman forces, but he was wary of their intentions. He knew he was playing a dangerous game, inviting a foreign power into the heart of Byzantine lands, but he believed it was a necessary gamble to secure his claim to the throne. The arrival of the Ottoman troops turned the tide of the civil war. They proved to be fierce and disciplined warriors, crushing the forces loyal to John V. Palaiologos in several key battles. The Byzantine countryside was ravaged by the fighting, and the population suffered immensely. In 1347, after years of bloody conflict, Cantacuzenios entered Constantinople in triumph. With Ottoman support, he secured his position as co-emperor alongside John V. Palaiologos, though the power dynamic was clear. The Ottomans had become kingmakers in Byzantium. The alliance was sealed with the marriage of Orhan to Theodora Cantacuzene, John VI's daughter. The wedding was a grand affair, a symbol of the new partnership between the Ottoman and Byzantine empires. But beneath the veneer of celebration, tensions simmered. With Gallipoli firmly in their grasp, the Ottomans began to consolidate their position in Europe. They fortified the peninsula, transforming it into a bridgehead for future expansion. The Byzantines watched with growing unease as their former allies entrenched themselves on European soil. Cantacuzenios had won his throne, but at a terrible cost. He had opened the gates of Europe to the Ottomans, setting in motion a chain of events that would forever alter the course of history. The alliance that he intended as a means to save his empire ultimately paved the way for its demise. The year is 1354. The alliance with John VI Cantacuzenios had proven invaluable, granting the Ottomans an opportunity they could not ignore. Orhan, ever the strategist, saw the potential to establish a permanent foothold in Europe. Cantacuzenios, though grateful for the Ottoman assistance in securing his throne, harbored a growing unease. He understood the ambition that burned within Orhan and the potential consequences of inviting them into Europe. Under the cover of darkness, a contingent of Ottoman troops led by Orhan's son, Suleiman Pasha, began their crossing of the Dardanelles. The narrow strait, a gateway between two continents, represented a pivotal moment in Ottoman history. Gallipoli, a peninsula strategically located on the European side of the Dardanelles, became the initial target. A weakened, earthquake-stricken fort provided little resistance. With the fort secured, the Ottomans had established their first permanent bridgehead in Europe. This was more than just a military victory. It was a symbolic triumph, a declaration of their arrival on the European stage. News of the successful landing reached Orhan in Anatolia. He recognized the strategic importance of Gallipoli, not merely as a foothold, but as a launching pad for future campaigns. Gallipoli offered several advantages. Its location allowed the Ottomans to control the sea lanes connecting the Aegean Sea and the Sea of Marmara, giving them a stranglehold on trade and communication. It also provided a direct route into the Balkans, opening up new avenues for conquest. Cantacuzeninos, now desperate, attempted to persuade Orhan to withdraw his troops. He offered concessions and promises, but the Ottoman leader remained unmoved. Orhan, while maintaining a veneer of respect, made it clear that the Ottomans intended to stay. The alliance had served its purpose, and now their own ambitions took precedence. The Ottomans wasted no time in consolidating their gains. They strengthened the fortifications, established supply lines, and began to encourage Turkish settlers to migrate to the peninsula. Hala Sultan, known for her intelligence and insight, played a pivotal role in advising Orhan on the administration and development of the Gallipoli territory, ensuring its efficient management and integration into the growing Ottoman realm. Gallipoli was more than just a piece of land. It was a symbol of Ottoman ambition, a dagger pointed at the heart of Byzantium, and a gateway to the conquest of Europe. The stage was set for a new era of conflict and expansion. The expansion of the Ottoman domain brought with it new challenges, not least of which was the need for a reliable and loyal military force. Orhan recognized that the traditional tribal levies, while fierce, lacked the discipline and cohesion required for sustained campaigns and the administration of a growing empire. Thus began the devshirme, a system of conscription that would become a cornerstone of Ottoman power. Young boys, primarily from Christian villages in the Balkans, were selected, often the strongest and brightest, to be taken into Ottoman service. These boys were brought to Anatolia and subjected to rigorous training and education. They were converted to Islam and taught Turkish, as well as the arts of war and administration. Their past lives were erased, and they were reborn as servants of the Sultan. From these ranks emerged the Janissaries, an elite infantry corps unlike any the world had seen. They were the Sultan's personal guard, fiercely loyal and highly disciplined, a force to be reckoned with on any battlefield. Unlike the Sipahis, the traditional cavalry who held land grants in exchange for military service, the Janissaries were paid a regular salary and owed their allegiance solely to the Sultan. This made them a powerful tool in the Sultan's hands, a check against the power of the nobility. Orhan recognized the value of this new fighting force. He invested heavily in their training and equipment, ensuring they were the best equipped and most disciplined soldiers in his army. Their training was brutal and relentless, pushing them to the limits of their physical and mental endurance. They were taught to fight as a unit, obeying orders without question, and to show no mercy to their enemies. Yet within their ranks, a strong sense of brotherhood developed. They were more than just soldiers. They were a family, bound together by their shared experiences and their loyalty to the Sultan. The Janissaries soon proved their worth on the battlefield. Their discipline and unwavering loyalty played a crucial role in Ottoman victories, solidifying the empire's hold on its newly acquired territories and instilling fear in its enemies. Even John Cantacuzenos, despite his alliance with Orhan, could not help but feel a sense of unease at the sight of this new, formidable force. They were instrumental in the campaigns in the Balkans, spearheading assaults and holding key positions against fierce resistance. Their presence on the battlefield often turned the tide of battle in favor of the Ottomans. The creation of the Janissaries marked a turning point in Ottoman military history. It provided the sultans with a powerful and loyal force, capable of projecting Ottoman power far beyond the borders of Anatolia. They were the seeds of a new order, an order that would reshape the political landscape of the medieval world. The Devshirme, though controversial, continued to feed the ranks of the Janissaries, providing a steady stream of recruits who would, willingly or unwillingly, become the sword and shield of the Ottoman Empire. Their story was just beginning. The early Ottoman rule in Anatolia was characterized by a pragmatic approach to governance. Osman understood that stability was key to consolidating his power. He allowed conquered communities to retain their customs and religious practices, a policy that reduced resistance and fostered a sense of acceptance. Orhan continued his father's policies of religious tolerance, understanding that a diverse population could be a source of strength. He established a system where local leaders, both Christian and Muslim, were consulted on matters of governance. This inclusive approach helped to maintain order and facilitate trade. In the newly integrated territories, individuals like Hala Sultan played a pivotal role in bridging cultural divides. Educated and enlightened, she dedicated herself to fostering understanding by teaching children from diverse backgrounds, promoting literacy and mutual respect. Infrastructure projects, like the construction of bridges and roads, were prioritized to connect communities and facilitate trade. These projects were not just about economic development. They were also symbols of unity and progress under Ottoman rule. Trade flourished under Ottoman administration. Markets became melting pots of cultures, where merchants from different backgrounds exchanged goods and ideas. This economic prosperity contributed to the overall stability and growth of the empire. Even within the Byzantine Empire, where the Ottomans held a growing influence, trade agreements were brokered, enabling the exchange of goods and ideas between the two distinct realms, fostering a complex interdependence. As Ottoman rule extended into the Balkans, the complexities of managing a multi-ethnic and multi-religious society became even more pronounced. Individuals like Hala Sultan played a crucial role in resolving disputes and ensuring fair treatment for all. Orhan sought to reassure the Balkan populations that Ottoman rule would not necessarily mean the end of their way of life. He promised protection from external threats and pledged to uphold justice and fairness in his administration. Despite the challenges of integrating diverse populations, there were instances of remarkable cultural exchange and cooperation. Villagers from different religious backgrounds often participated in each other's festivals and celebrations, fostering a sense of community. To ensure stability and order, a structured legal system was established, with judges and officials appointed to oversee local affairs. The emphasis was on fairness and impartiality, regardless of religious or ethnic background. Even as the Ottomans solidified their rule and fostered a degree of stability, the Byzantine emperor harbored concerns. The growing Ottoman influence was undeniable, yet the alliance with Orhan had brought much-needed respite from internal conflicts and external threats. As the sun set over Constantinople, Hala Sultan pondered the future. The Ottoman Empire was rising, and its impact on the region was undeniable. She knew that the challenges ahead would be great, but she was determined to contribute to a future where different cultures could coexist and thrive. With a foothold secured in Gallipoli, Orhan turned his gaze towards the Balkans. The fragmented kingdoms and principalities of the region, weakened by internal rivalries, presented a tempting target for Ottoman expansion. The Ottoman army, honed by years of warfare in Anatolia, moved swiftly. The Sipahi cavalry, with their disciplined formations and devastating charges, were the vanguard of the Ottoman advance. The first major resistance came from the Serbian kingdom. Despite their valor, the Serbian knights were ill-equipped to face the superior numbers and tactics of the Ottoman forces. Orhan directed the siege operations with ruthless efficiency. Ottoman engineers employed siege engines and mining techniques to weaken the fortifications. The fighting was fierce and relentless. Both sides suffered heavy losses, but the Ottomans, with their endless reserves of manpower, gradually gained the upper hand. Further south, the Bulgarian kingdom fared no better. The Ottoman army swept through the Bulgarian countryside, capturing towns and fortresses with ease. The Bosnian lords, known for their fierce independence, put up a spirited resistance. The mountainous terrain of Bosnia proved a challenge for the Ottoman armies. The Janissaries, the elite infantry corps of the Ottoman army, played a crucial role in suppressing the Bosnian resistance. Their discipline and training proved decisive in the rugged terrain. The Ottoman campaigns in the Balkans were marked by widespread destruction and displacement. The local population suffered greatly from the ravages of war. Amidst the chaos and bloodshed, Hala Sultan, known for her compassion, dedicated herself to tending the wounded, offering comfort to both Ottoman soldiers and Balkan civilians alike. Despite the setbacks, resistance continued to smolder in the Balkans. Balkan leaders, driven by a desire to protect their lands and their people, began to plot a coordinated response to the Ottoman advance. The Ottoman Empire had firmly established itself in the Balkans, but the seeds of resistance had been sown, and the struggle for control of the region was far from over. The year is 1361. Orhan I, having secured Gallipoli, now sets his sights on a more significant prize, Adrianople, a city of strategic importance in Thrace. Adrianople, known to the Byzantines as Hadrianopolis, was a prize worth fighting for. Its strategic location commanded vital trade routes and offered a gateway further into the Balkans. The siege of Adrianople was fierce and protracted. Ottoman soldiers, hardened by years of warfare, relentlessly assaulted the city's defenses. The Byzantine garrison, though outnumbered and weary, fought valiantly to defend their city, but their dwindling numbers and dwindling supplies sealed their fate. Orhan, ever the strategist, meticulously oversaw the siege, ensuring that every advantage was exploited. Finally, after months of relentless pressure, the walls of Adrianople were breached. The Ottoman forces surged into the city, engaging in brutal street fighting. With the city's defenses overwhelmed, Adrianople fell to the Ottomans. The crescent banner was raised high above the city, a symbol of the new reality. Orhan entered Adrianople in triumph, the city now his. He immediately recognized its potential as a new capital, a base from which to launch further conquests into Europe. The transformation of Adrianople began immediately. Churches were converted into mosques, and new public works were initiated to reflect Ottoman rule. Adrianople quickly became a melting pot of cultures, attracting merchants, artisans, and scholars from across the Ottoman realm and beyond. From his new capital, Orhan received ambassadors from across the Balkans, solidifying his power and influence in the region. The capture of Adrianople and its establishment as the Ottoman capital marked a turning point in the empire's history. It was a clear signal of their intent to stay in Europe and a launchpad for further conquests, forever changing the balance of power in the medieval world.